All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving head first into one of the most absolutely fascinating textual mysteries in ancient literature, specifically looking at Surah 33, verse 37 of the Quran. For centuries, this exact verse has been viewed through a super rigid, strictly historical lens. But today, we're going to completely flip the script. I'm going to show you a profound paradigm shift in how we can actually understand this text. We're going to step way back from all the historical, biographical gossip and instead uncover a timeless, universal principle that kind of changes everything. Because look, for literally 1,400 years, the traditional reading of this passage has basically framed it as this big historical marriage scandal. Honestly, it reads a bit like an ancient tabloid story. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? The real question we need to ask ourselves is this: is this just an old scandal, or is it actually a highly sophisticated blueprint for social liberation? And let me tell you, by the time we wrap up this explainer, you're going to see exactly how it is absolutely the latter. So here's how we're going to crack this code together. First, we'll quickly review the traditional marriage story. Then, we'll introduce a totally new linguistic approach, decode the core vocabulary, reveal the Zaid pattern, look at how it performs social surgery, and finally, weigh reality against social labels. Let's get right into it. Part 1, the traditional marriage story, or as we called it, the historical scandal. Now, you probably already know the traditional narrative. It's incredibly specific. It claims this verse is all about a specific guy named Zaid, his failed marriage and eventual divorce from a woman named Zainab, and then a subsequent marriage by the prophet just to prove a really narrow legal point, specifically that marrying the ex-wife of an adopted son is legally allowed. Like I said, it reads exactly like ancient tabloid fodder. It's filled with gossip, specific characters, and these really narrow legal loopholes. But here's where we're going to challenge that accepted reality. What if, and stick with me here, what if Zaid wasn't a person at all? Just think about that for a second. What if reading this as a biography means we are completely missing the actual point of the text? Which brings us to part 2, a totally new linguistic approach. To figure this out, the main tool we're going to use today is a methodology called tasreef. Think of tasreef as using the text like its own internal dictionary. So instead of relying on outside historical gossip that was written centuries later, we're going to look at how a root word is actually used elsewhere in the very same book to find its true, functional meaning. We are simply letting the text explain itself. All right, part 3, decoding the core vocabulary. Let's do a quick word-by-word breakdown. First up is the word Zaid itself. Now, traditionally, this is just taken as a proper noun, right? A man's name. But using tasreef, if we look at the root letter ZYD, throughout the text, this root consistently means growth, increase, or abundance. Think of phrases like, we increased them in guidance, or my Lord increased me in knowledge. So functionally speaking, Zaid isn't a guy in a story. It literally represents the increase. It's this active agent of natural growth and development that happens in all of our lives. Next up is the word waterin. In the traditional story, this gets translated as desire or need, which, sure, fits perfectly if you're writing a scandalous marriage plot. But its functional root, WTR, specifically refers to a determined purpose or a necessary transition point that has been completed. It's an aim that has been completely satisfied, meaning it now requires a definitive shift to the next stage of development. Then we've got zawaj. We usually hear this word and instantly think, boom, legal marriage ceremony. But the text uses zawaj in a much, much broader sense to mean pairing or coupling. It's about bringing two elements together to function as one. It talks about souls being paired, or all things being created in pairs. So it's not just about signing a marriage certificate. It's about two elements functionally working together to serve a higher purpose. And finally, adiyah. Traditionally, this is translated simply as adopted sons, but the root, DW, just means to call or to claim. So functionally, an adiyah is anyone claimed by a label or a title that totally lacks biological reality. It's a socially constructed label. It's an artificial box that society invents and then forces someone into, completely regardless of the actual reality. So look at the massive gap we've just uncovered here. The contrast is absolutely stark. On one hand, you have the traditional drama, a guy named Zaid, sexual desire, illegal marriage, and adopted sons. But then, look at the functional meaning. We're talking about the increase, reaching a necessary transition point, functionally pairing elements, and dealing with artificial social labels. It is a completely different conversation.
So let's move to part 4 and see how this all comes together, the Zaid pattern revealed as a universal principle.
To really grasp this pattern, we first have to understand the specific problem the text is trying to solve, and that problem is haraj. Haraj is a tightening, a restriction, or a kind of social bottleneck. It's what happens when human-made rules and the artificial cages of tradition restrict our natural progression. When we prioritize these artificial labels, like the rigid, invented rules society places around relationships, we create a severe, suffocating bottleneck for the entire community. Part 5. Performing social surgery to dismantle these blockages. So here is how the text uses this principle to perform social surgery. Step 1. A functional bond, a zawaj, reaches its natural conclusion. It's watarn. It's fulfilled its purpose. Step 2. Natural growth. That's Zaid, the increase, demands that this old bond be dissolved because it's just no longer productive. And step 3. A new bond forms, which deliberately shatters the man-made taboo and dissolves the haraj, the restriction. The force of natural progression literally breaks the artificial rule.
Which leads us to part 6, reality over social labels. Notice the huge dichotomy going on here. You've got human authority, which relies heavily on man-made labels, adya. It builds these sacred rules around those labels, forcing everyone into a social performance, which inevitably leads to restriction, harj. But then you have natural growth, which relies on reality, haq. It embraces functional pairings, zawaj, and that leads to a fluid community and, ultimately, ease. The whole Zaid principle is essentially a mandate to choose natural reality over artificial human authority. And the text actually warns us about why it's so easy to get stuck on the side of human authority. It notes that the messenger was initially hiding within himself a truth because he feared the people. He knew that breaking a cultural taboo just to allow for natural growth was going to cause a massive social scandal. It's a brilliant, timeless warning against social performance, basically warning us not to stay stuck in a bottleneck just to keep everybody else comfortable. But then the text provides this incredibly powerful correction. It says, Allah is more worthy that you should fear him. It's this profound reminder that prioritizing universal truth and functional reality over the comfort of cultural norms is the ultimate lesson here. The fear of breaking a human tradition should literally never outweigh the reality established by natural growth. And that brings us to our final takeaway. The story of Zaid in verse 33-37 is definitely not some old piece of gossip about a man's divorce. It is a direct invitation to be psychologically brave. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder. Are you psychologically brave enough to let the increase, that natural, necessary growth in your own life and in your community, shatter your own cages of tradition? Thank you so much for exploring this massive paradigm shift with me today. Keep asking questions and always keep looking for the functional reality hiding behind the labels.